afternoon, everyone. My clock is showing 2:30, so we can go ahead and get started here. So welcome to session 2 of our AI webinar. We're very excited you are here. If you have not heard anything about IDEA before, we're also really happy you're here. So I know most of the folks attending today are pretty connected to IDEA, but if you are unfamiliar with us, we are a consortia of 19 universities that collaborate to offer online graduate programs, undergraduate programs, certificates, and course sharing. So we hope that today just gives you a little bit more information about not really IDEA today, but about how to enhance your teaching. So I definitely want to welcome back Justin. Most of you are probably familiar with him by now. You've seen his face around IDEA a little bit. He joined us back in February in Kansas City for a pre-conference workshop and then offered session 1 last month. So we are thrilled he is back for session 2. He is also the Senior Technical Resource Manager and leader of the AI team with Missouri Online. So he is at the forefront of a lot of their AI initiatives. How many times can I say AI here? Goodness. And doing work like developing Missouri's AI homepage, presents at conferences. He's doing a lot of work in the field. So we were thrilled to have such a wonderful expert. We got great feedback about our first session. And so I will hand things over to you, Justin, to get started.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow, what a great introduction and lots of the use of AI. So always good. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to share my screen here, which is always a risk. Okay, so let me move that thing out of the way. Sorry, with my day job, I have a bunch of other Zoom type things that pop up occasionally that make it a little more difficult. So, okay, yeah, teaching with AI part 2. So the agenda for this 1 hour session is I want to recap part 1, just to kind of cover not cover, but go over again, just kind of some basics that we talked about last time, or maybe if you're new this time. And then we want to advance to the next level. We want to get better prompting with a purpose. We want to talk about using AI to save time, deliver better results. We want to change assignments to utilize AI and discourage cheating. That was a big one in the feedback. And then also just kind of, again, give you some resources to help you continue along the way here. So quick recap. So we learned the basics, right? We talked about AI in general, what it is, how to use those basic tools. So hopefully you have a better idea of getting in and playing with those now. We learned about the why, of course, extremely important that students know how to use AI, as they will be most likely expected to use it when they get out of school. Also, we got comfortable using the basics tools. We talked about data and what not to put in AI. We'll touch on that again this time, but as a reminder, we're going to be using free tools in this session, and I'll talk about it again a few slides down the road. But if you are at a school and you are lucky enough to have a data level 3 secure tool, then you have the ability to put FERPA data in there. You can use it for student assignments and things like that, and that's excellent. Otherwise known maybe as a walled garden. But if you are relying on free tools from Microsoft Copilot or say Google Gemini, or maybe you just have created your own ChatGPT account, that is all data level 1. So it is, what you'd put on Facebook is what you'd put in there, right? So you don't want to share anything that's private, and especially not student data. You don't want to use it for grading or anything like that. And one thing I may or may not have mentioned last time, but that also goes for premium accounts that you've purchased. So say example, you buy a $20 ChatGPT premium account. That is still not a walled garden. It's still not data level 3 just because it's the premium. So you want to verify with your school, with your tech department, with whoever it is at your school that runs the AI side of things, right? Or has those kind of connections to figure out what's available and what's not, and make sure that it is data level 3 secure before you put anything in there, just in case. So We also talked about how to use it responsibly. We just kind of talked about it again, but making sure that when you do use AI to help you create stuff and you put that into your lesson plans or whatnot, that you are also citing it and kind of mentioning that to students, just like we expect them to do for us. And then we also went through a whole bunch of recipes that you could use for your class. I gave you the links to the cookbook and the additional resources, and I'll have those again at the end of this session, as well as they are usually extremely helpful to kind of get you started at least. So with that, we want to go from I tried it to I'm innovating with it, right? So advancing to the next level. As an advanced class, we're now on to prompting, and advancing to the next level is all about prompting in general and learning different ways to use AI to help you in different situations. And the attention is really in the detail, as we'll kind of talk about. So first, I wanted to just kind of let everybody know. So, A, thank you all for providing wonderful feedback for the first session and for giving me an idea of what was missing, right? For some, it was a little too basic, which is perfectly understandable. For some, they learned a lot, but maybe they wish they could have seen other things. I took literally all of those pieces of feedback, especially around what you would like to see or like to hear more about or whatever, and incorporated it into all of this. Okay. So if I don't, for whatever reason, if I've missed something or I don't touch on something that you really wanted to know, you'll get these slides. My email is on the first one. Please email me, let me know. I'm all about trying to help as many people as possible around AI, and I'd love to hear from you, especially if you have a specific use case or whatnot that we can discuss and talk about. So, because if you're dealing with that or you've had that idea, I'm sure others out there have as well. And yeah, so I just want to cover as much bases as possible. So anyway, regarding prompting, all about details. So I like to use, or at least set the idea of using, the RISE framework. So what that entails is role. So tell AI who it is, and these are all in the prompts, right? So this is one prompt. So you are a teaching assistant helping redesign an online discussion prompt. So it's really important to talk about what you're wanting that role to be. Maybe this is, again, it's a teaching assistant, right? Or maybe you're a faculty member that's teaching a certain class. Maybe you're trying to get it in the eyes of the student. So you are a student taking my class that is titled this, right? But the more detail you can get, especially around the role, the better. We also have input. So give context and data. So here's the old prompt. Here's what I'm dealing with. Here's the student learning outcome that I'm dealing with, right? And then, maybe from there, it's evaluate these and see how close they are, or give me some feedback as to how we can better adjust them. And then steps. A lot of people forget this, but guide its process with as much detail as you can think of, right? So first, I want you to identify the weaknesses. I then want you to propose a revised version with rationale. Then I want you to give me the reasoning why you're giving me that revised version, right? As much detail as you can possibly get. Again, all of these are in one prompt. These aren't three separate prompts, okay? Um, but yeah, guiding its process is key. And then, of course, the expectation, right? And get specific as much as you can. Tell it how to respond. After you do all of that, I want you to return results in a 3-column table. So the original, the problem, the improved, right? Or maybe it's give me a graph. Or sometimes, especially with the free accounts, it's not so great at generating graphs, right? But give me outlines of this, this, and this, and pose it in the form of, from a student perspective, and then from my perspective, and then maybe from an outlooker perspective as well, right? And so, again, as much detail as possible around everything that you want, all in one prompt. Um, and then these are just kind of extra stuff to think about. But how you want to kind of go about these prompts in general is think about them from a perspective of you just hired somebody and you're telling them to do all of this. Um, what info would you give them, right? Would you tell a new assistant to just, hey, go give me a list of things? No, you'd want to give them as much detail as possible, break down steps if you needed to, how you want it back to you, how you want it explained if possible, all of that. And that's kind of what we're looking at here, right? But then we also, in some cases, we want to add self-checks. So list all sources and provide where in the source you got the info from. This is extremely important. A lot of you mentioned, how do I know if the data is current? Or how do I know if the data is factual? And one of the things I've found, and actually using it myself for some personal projects, was getting a list of the sources so I can go in and actually verify, right? And it's not even just about give me that website you got this from, but where on the website did you get this from, with as much detail as possible so that I can go double check. Um, and this comes in handy a lot. I was actually researching for a finance class how to do a certain project based around stocks, and it wanted me to find a recent company that did an IPO, right? And so I had it find one of those, and then again, I didn't know a whole lot about this company at all, so it could have been giving me fake information. So one of the ways I checked is I included this in the prompt and then was able to go and actually verify, oh, yep, this is an actual real company. So that's check one, right? We're good. And then here's some other information that I can verify. This is also very important anytime you're dealing with numbers, I've found as well, because sometimes, well, in that case, for example, I also needed to know profit margins and revenue, things like that. And it was able to give all of that to me. So same thing with data in general, right? If you're looking for maybe a range of, family service type stuff, all of that is great to have in general. Also perspective. So again, explain this AI policy from the view of a student. So this is really important, and this will come in handy as we move on through this course, because a lot of this stuff we're trying to create for students, right? We're going to be looking at different assignments that we can implement. And it's so in some cases we want to create these for the students. In other cases, the assignment is actually creating a kind of interview or something to that effect in the eyes of maybe a historical figure. And so perspective in general is great. This also comes in handy for, in another demo here in just a bit, where we're going to analyze a grading rubric, an assignment, and get an idea from a student perspective, how we can make that better. So use it to diagnose. So what is missing in this policy draft that might cause confusion for students? So again, this is a very big one that some of you mentioned again in the feedback. How do I analyze big documents is one. Also, how do I get the most out of a free tool where I can't put student data in? I can't use it for grading, right? Some of you are lucky enough to be able to have those systems in place. Others mostly are not. So how do you do that? And this is kind of what you're doing here. This is also really good for, hey, I've just created a new assignment, right? Maybe I've changed some things in my course, or maybe I need to, right? One of the examples we'll have is based around student feedback, where maybe you've been teaching the course for a while, you haven't really changed a whole lot of it, and you've gotten some feedback as of recently around certain assignments that maybe are a little bit confusing. So something to this effect of, what's missing or what's confusing about this, and then help me make it better. And then also use it to explain. So explain each section as if you were talking to a student, right? Or just explain it to me in general. Explain why you gave me these results. Explain the benefits here. Some of that is for our purpose. Others are for the purpose of being able to explain it to those people we're trying to teach, right? Um, so first kind of demo here. So maintaining DCL1 safety. I alluded to just a bit ago, if you are limited to data level 1, and that's the technical term for basically, the free tools, the basics, this is where anything you put in is being used to train the AI LLM tools, and your data is not safe, right? So other people can access it, or they can get it back in their own returns, something to that effect, right? Um, and so, because of that, we want to make sure that we're still able to get a lot of use out of those tools, right? And for the most part, you're able to without a problem. But in some cases, like with this example, where maybe you're trying to not necessarily use it for grading, but you do want to either have it help you with student feedback, giving student feedback, or maybe again evaluating some of the assignments that you've given, you can't just put all of that student data in there, right? Okay, Joe said this about my assignment, John said this, and so on and so forth, right? Or even here's Joe's paper, give me feedback on it, right? But what you can do is you can make sure that you're summarizing the different patterns that you're seeing, and then making sure that there's no student data in there like names and all of that. You can then have it um, give you results based on that, right? So in this situation, for example, instead of pasting student feedback in, summarize patterns like students mentioned it was unclear, help me rewrite these for better clarity. And so what I'm going to do right now is I have kind of a case put up in this version is Copilot. So I'm going to try and drag it over to my screen here so that you all can see it. So this is Copilot. This is the free version of Copilot. As you can see down here, I'm not even signed in. Okay. Everything I'm doing today is on either a free account, or if in some cases, if I can, I don't even sign in. So it doesn't even have my email, right? Just to show you. So what I've done is I've given it this professional resume rubric, okay? And to show you what that looks like, just for absolute clarity here, let me bring that up. And it's not formatted very well, but uh, this is basically a grading rubric for a professional resume assignment for one of the classes I teach. It's a 1500 business class where they basically have to put their resume in a certain format, and then obviously this is the rubric for it, right? So what I've done is I've simply just uploaded it, and then this is the prompt that I gave. Nice and vague, right? So students mentioned unclear instructions and issues with formatting on this assignment. Can you help me make improvements to this based on this feedback? Now, this is a very basic prompt, but I wanted to show you because some of you did ask about how do I analyze, how do I get it to work with different PDFs and things like that. So it's first of all, it's reading all of the info in that PDF. And then it's giving me this stuff back, right? So it summarizes the original issues, and then it suggests improvements. And I haven't even put any detail into this, right? Can you help me make improvements? That's all I've done. Now we can elaborate on this even further, but let's take a look, right? So first of all, it's got a fake due date or whatever. But it's changed some of the stuff to make it a little bit easier, simplified and reformatted. So tables are hard to read and inconsistent. So again, use only one professional font, no color use. So it just kind of restates all of this, right? Um, but yeah, and I don't know why it did this twice. That's weird. Anyway, so that's just very basic stuff. Now we can get even better with specific stuff. So maybe this is an assignment that you have had for a while and you want to redo it. Okay, so help me make improvements based on the feedback. Okay, great. But now maybe I don't think this changes things enough based on the feedback. Can you give me a new assignment that takes a lot of what you're suggesting into account and give me Um, the assignment along with, and let's get detailed now, right? Along with what objectives I am looking for. If I could type right. Okay. What to tell the students to emphasize. Okay. What grading I should be aware of, and anything else you feel is important. So let's see what this does for us. And we have quick response on. So just as a reminder, so with some of these tools, you can have it think deeper, or you can change to some of these others if you would like. I always just keep it on the basics, just for default for showing you all. But yeah, so now it's given me um, the title, the due date again is whatever. I could have put that in the prompt, right? With the due date of this, how many pages, blah, 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 blah. I could put all of that in there, right? But so it gives me all of this. And then I can go into more detail from here. And remember, we're talking about advanced prompting, but even with a prompt that is, almost a page long, right? You're still going to want to double check on stuff because I don't want to assume all of this is right. But more importantly, you're still going to want to get more out of it, probably, right? So, you're probably going to want to maybe change some of the points for this stuff here. Maybe you want to fill out this a little bit more. So, even though you're putting in advanced prompts, you're still going to want to put in more prompting to dig in even further. Okay. So, that is just a real easy. And by the way, for those who are maybe a little bit new, all I did was I hit the plus thing here and hit add images or files. And that is all I did in order to upload that file. Okay. Um, so let's see what's next here as far as the demo goes. Oh, yeah, summarize documents. Awesome. So before I jump to that, though, I do want to show you one other example that I have in ChatGPT this time. And this is, again, mainly just showing you kind of the difference between a basic prompt and also a more detailed prompt like we've just kind of talked about. So same stuff, very similar to what a lot of you are here for, right? What are some ways I can use AI as a teacher? Okay, that's a great question. Thanks, I appreciate it. And then it gives me a whole bunch of stuff. And all of this is good, right? But it's not really specific to me. This is just general overall data that can be used, which again is still great and still helpful. But now let's look at a more advanced version. So first of all, this is the setting. This will be for a family dynamics. That's the class I teach, health and human sciences class at the university level. So that gives it more information, right? I would like a list, so I'm being specific now of what I want, plus the output of 10 different ways I can implement AI in my class for assignments and tests. One thing, 10 is just a number I came up with, right? Maybe you only want one, but I like 10 because 10 is better than one and I can choose. So pretty easy. Put whatever you want there. I would like a mixture. So I'm giving it more context, more data, right? I would like a mixture of fun AI focused ideas, as well as some that are more traditional that would actually discourage AI use. A lot of us are here for that. Please explain each in detail. I love this because a lot of times I don't pick up exactly, especially when it's coming to new things. I don't pick up exactly on what's going on the screen that it's giving me, right? It's giving me a whole bunch of info, but I want it to explain each section to me in detail. Why did it give me that, right? As well as how to communicate them to my students. That's awesome. And what to emphasize to them. So if there are specific, maybe lesson plans or lesson objectives that we want to emphasize to them. Also, please list what objectives each would cover and anything in terms of grading I would need to know. So again, I'm literally just thinking about anything and everything I could possibly think of regarding assignments using AI and how I might want it or what I might need to know. and I'm literally just typing all of it in, right? And of course, this time it's excellent. So before, great question, but now I'm excellent. So that's a step, right? So here's a list, and it gives me 10 ideas, right? And now look at the detail too, right? And it even gives me some grading. And of course, I don't have to listen to this, right? So 40% accuracy of theory application, whatever. Maybe I want to change those. Maybe I don't. That's okay. But it gives me all of this. Students use a tool like ChatGPT or Claude to analyze a family case study. That's great. Oh, they must prompt the AI to explain theoretical frameworks and then critically evaluate the AI's analysis. So that's awesome because not only are you encouraging them to use AI, they're using it to help them within that field, but then they're also analyzing AI in those results, right? Because part of what we want to do is we want to encourage the AI use, but we want to encourage them checking their own knowledge as well as analyzing AI and not just copying and pasting and moving on, right? Here's the objectives. Here's the communicate to students. AI can generate insights quickly, but your task is to be the human evaluator. So that's great, right? So that's a good start. And then it gives me 9 more of these, right? So again, super simple. And maybe, again, all of this is great, but now, oh man, this one's really nice. AI critique essay. Okay, so I've given it a really good detailed advanced prompt, which gives me much better results than what I normally would have gotten above. But now I want to go into even further. So don't just think that's it and that's all it's got, right? So now let's focus, let's do number 2 since we're here. So just, okay, and just start talking to it, right? I would like to know, if I could type, know more about number 2. Can you explain even further in detail what the objectives are, what the students will gain, and anything else I would need to know? This will be for a 50-minute class. Please give me instructions as well as if I was a student and any words of caution. Okay, so again, now even more detailed, right? Another detailed prompt, not just, hey, explain more to me, but let's go even further in and don't be afraid to literally ask for everything that you would like, right? This is free. It's not going to cost you to talk to it and further dig on down. And if it gives you the wrong thing, that's okay. Or maybe it's not quite what you had in mind, right? So maybe this 50 minutes total, yeah, but I really don't like a setup or I really don't like this. Again, that's fine. You can talk to it. But look at the detail that we're getting now with the breakdown, with grading rubric, right? Words of cautions and instructor tips, how to introduce it. I mean, this is fully detailed stuff with just a couple extra sentences, right? And I've done all of this on, well, most of this on the fly. I had the first 2, but otherwise it's on the fly and it didn't take very long. Now, am I going to take all of this verbatim and just copy and paste it into a Word document? No, but I am going to read through. I'm going to make sure these learning objectives match my learning objectives, right? I'm going to understand my class and know, okay, is this really going to work with this kind of timeline? Maybe I need to adjust some stuff here, or maybe I really want them to focus on this part as opposed to the debrief, right? Or maybe I really want to focus on the debrief and having them write short reflections as opposed to the AI piece. Perfectly fine. You can take all of this and then edit it how you'd like, and boom, you're good. And if you need help with that, you can always use the AI to help you. I think based on my class, I would like to focus more on the debrief and analysis compared to the simulation. Can you adjust the times and expectations of both? Okay, so let's see what that does just real quick. Awesome. Oh, and even perfect adjustment. It's just so polite. So again, now it's adjusting everything for me. It redoes everything for me, which is great. And what you'll see down below is that it has adjusted all of that for me. And then again, inspiration, right? Not copy paste as a faculty member, but inspiration. Let's get a lot of this down. Let's adjust some of it. And it even gives me the steps here so I can, again, okay, so it's a simulation partner, not a replacement. Okay, cool. And I can then study that and give that to class. So super easy stuff, all with just a little bit more advanced prompting than what you're used to, right? And more importantly, all I'm really doing there is simply just telling it exactly what I would want if I could have it perfect, right? Which for me is as much detail and explanation as possible. Even if I don't need all of that, you can always have it summarize it for you later and scrimp things down a little bit. So, all right. So another popular one on the feedback sheet was using AI to help summarize documents. A lot of you mentioned this. Maybe this is good for you when you're doing research or you're looking into different lesson plans and what you can kind of do for different things. Maybe this is something where you want to show your students how to do this. Maybe it's part of an assignment. Maybe it is also, related to what they're going to be doing when they get out into the field after they graduate, right? This is a huge time saver, as a lot of you mentioned, right? And it'll be a huge time saver for your students as well. So the prompt, analyze this document I've given you and summarize it into key points and implications with a teaching focus. Usually this involves asking for more detail or expanding on certain sections as the follow-up. So let's demo that, okay? So we're going back over here. We're already in ChatGPT, so let's just use that. So I'm going to click the little handy plus thing. I'm going to add a photo or a file. It brings me into my little demo folder. And let's do, this is a perfect one. 5 small steps for AI skeptics. Okay, so that is loading. And again, the prompt, analyze, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? But analyze this and give me all of the details I would want to know in bullet points, along with any context or explanations that might be good to know as well. So let's just see what that gives us, and then we'll go from there. And again, this is the same as what we were just dealing with on those assignments, right? So we've gotten a pretty good advanced prompt. This gives us the overall look and feel of what's going on, an underlying message, the 5 small steps. So we get all of this. Now, this may be a little too much detail, in which case you could just tell it to summarize things in a couple of sentences, right? Or maybe you want to really kind of dive in a little bit to certain things, right? So challenges and cautions highlighted. So, ooh, that seems interesting. So let's dive into that a little bit more. So for challenges and cautions highlighted, tell me more and go into more detail from a teaching perspective at a university level. What would I need to know and look out for? And give it to me in an easy to read 4 sentences or less. Okay. And again, that's just random stuff, right? But you can do whatever you'd like there. But boom, there's my 4 sentences or less, easier to read. Some people, that's harder to read, right? For some people, they want bullet points. For others, maybe you want it in a different way. But again, once you get that data in, as you can see, it's quite a bit, right? You can go back to certain sections, you can expand out. Maybe it's, this part here, what it means. Have students generate AI artifacts and evaluate their quality. I don't know what that means. So have it tell you, right? follow up, dig deeper. Hey, when you said on number 4, have students generate whatever, what did you mean by that? Give me some more examples as I didn't get the first one. Okay. Explain how I might use that in class, right? Or when that might come up. So again, dig deeper, but that is a very easy thing to do. Now, a lot of you also mentioned possibly, Word documents, Excel, they all work the same. So let's try one. So we're going to go back to our files, and this time we're going to take this rubric for phone calls. So this is something that I think we created as part of my day job in academic technology. I think this was for our ticket takers to when they answered phone calls. So let's just get an analysis of this. Can you give me an analysis of this document? And I don't even maybe know what it is, right? So I'm just going to kind of be vague for now. Analysis of this document. I cannot type of this document and explain the different sections and anything else I would need to know. Okay, so let's have it do that for the Word document, and it's thinking. Now, while it's thinking, what I'd really like to just kind of make you all aware of is we are dealing with free tools, okay? Some of these, and I have up here ChatGPT, I have Copilot, I have Gemini, okay? Some of these are going to be better at certain things than others, and you really just have to trial and error, right? For example, with this Excel file that we're going to try next, I've had a tough time in versions like Copilot analyzing an Excel document, whereas with ChatGPT, on some I've had good luck and on others I've not, right? Um, so purpose, it gives you the structure, rating scale, explain. So all this great stuff, right? So that's awesome. Tons of detail. Excellent. Let's do another one real quick. Only this time we're going to pick Excel. This is a reimbursement form. I think it is for a AI conference, or no, actually this is for a Canvas conference that I went to. So let's just give me the total expense from this form. And now this is more direct, right? So this is more of a, I'm trying to save time. This is a big spreadsheet. This isn't, but let's pretend it is. I need the totals, and I don't want to have to dig through everything and figure it out. Now, this is where, again, you may start to meet your match when it comes to free accounts compared to a premium version or maybe an advanced version that you have at your school. Okay. Okay. So I guarantee I did not spend that much going to InstructureCon, as I wouldn't be here right now if I did. So, oh, and see, I've reached my data analysis limit. So we do want to kind of pay attention to that stuff also. But yeah, so this is where you still have limitations with AI. And I wanted to show you this because I figured that would come up. Now, I don't have it on here, but I have the premium version of ChatGPT. And even the premium version of ChatGPT has issues like this. If you screenshot something and you have it analyze that, it will do a lot better. But if you just put a spreadsheet in, and have it analyze it, it's very rough. And I also have a premium version of Copilot, and it's very similar. And actually, the premium version of Copilot even works within Excel, and it still has issues. So, one of the things in general around AI was, what are the limitations? Some of you put in there, how do we know? How do we trust the info? And there are still some cases you just can't, right? And that's where messing with AI on a somewhat daily basis when you can really kind of teaches you that. And as new versions come out, you can play around with it and analyze it, have it do things for you, and notice those differences. And you can notice a difference between, say a Chat GPT version 4 compared to a 5, right? So all good stuff. Okay, so now we are going to have AI help change an existing assignment. So we kind of did that already. So this was the assignment we did in Copilot. So we had it change this assignment completely. And we even went in and then gave it some additional objectives to do. Now, like I've shown in the previous webinar with my recipes for different things like learning plans and all that, is much specific data that you can put in to these prompts from your own class as possible, the better. I don't teach one of these classes, right? So this prompt was very basic still, right? But it all it did was it had my actual class, right? Which is it's build a resume and whatever, and that's it. But if I would have put specific stuff in here, like here's the list of objectives I'm hoping to accomplish for students within this assignment or just within this class, right? This is what I want them to get out of it. This is, really the goal. Perfect, even better. And it'll cater all of that stuff to you and how you want it specifically. Okay. So, and the prompt I gave here is this is an assignment I have given university level students. Again, this is where you would enter your specific class, right? Give me the takeaways a student would get from doing this, and then help me redesign it to incorporate AI usage ethically. Give me the new takeaways as well as any additional talking points I can use with students. Okay. So again, in the same situation here, right? With the resume, let's just do that now. So it's got all of the different instructor tips around creating a resume and all of that. So now, what are some ways I can redo this assignment, encouraging AI usage ethically? Give me the takeaways from a student perspective and from a teaching perspective. What am I looking out for? Okay. So again, while we're waiting on this, so some of your feedback was, I have existing assignments, I have an existing course. How do I change some of the way that I do my assignments in order to incorporate AI? And this is a real easy way, right? And it's got the redesigned assignment, and we won't go into detail here. You all can do it on there. But this is a very easy way to load that assignment. And because that assignment is usually public, right? Or if you don't mind it, you can give the general idea. You can literally take your assignment in a Word or a PDF document, put it into the prompt, and that way it, again, can read all of that stuff just like I did on my example and go from there. So speaking of this, regarding redoing assignments. So how to avoid and detect cheating. So this was another major request. I think this was probably the biggest, right? And they varied from how do I detect AI? How do I discourage AI? How do I change my assignments so I don't have to worry about AI as much? Things like that, right? So first, AI detectors are not 100%. I know some of you asked for them, and some of you may use them as well, right? We use them here at our school and all four schools actually. They're not really AI detectors so much as they're just, again, plagiarism detectors, right? That also kind of detect AI or help to. But we don't recommend relying on them because they're not 100%. They're never going to be able to tell you exactly that that person was cheating and everything is generated with AI. And they're not going to. They're getting farther and farther away from being able to do that. And actually, a fun kind of thing I probably even gave in the first webinar is, not only will you in the future not be able to detect AI reliably, but if you're doing a video presentation as an assignment, you probably won't even be able to detect if that person in the video is AI or not. And it's just going to continue to get more and more to that realm, right? So instead, we need to realize that, and we need to design assignments that are difficult or meaningless to complete with AI alone, or encourage AI usage, right? So what does that look like? So we want to require submission of drafts, outlines, reflections at multiple stages. So this is your traditional writing assignment, right? So we've not really changed the assignment so much as just we're requiring a lot more info, right, at different stages to check in and kind of really see how things progress, right? And then you're just kind of using your superhuman teaching ability to really kind of see, is there a change in how things are done, right? Is it written one way in one aspect, and then they're using completely different words and forms and a way of writing in another. Ask students to explain how they reached conclusions or decisions, right? So that they have to give explanation there. And use version histories. That's a really popular one as well, especially with like Google Docs or Microsoft Word, to see the evolution over time, because it's going to show you, okay, so on this date, they pasted literally 5 pages worth of info in from somewhere else. Okay, that's a little bit obvious. So use stuff like that in order to help. Also, local or personalized context. So tie prompts to class discussions, local data, or recent events. So an example of this: analyze the ethical implications of generative AI in higher education. That they can do in one prompt, right? But by referencing two recent system initiatives discussed this semester. That's not so easy. And here's the thing to think about, even with these kind of assignments where they still may use AI for certain things, and you could probably even use AI for this, but they're going to have to go into a lot more detail. They're going to have to really work that AI prompt probably multiple times in order to get to where they want to be from an assignment standpoint. Remember, and I'll go into more context next year, but part of them learning AI is learning the outside the box thinking. How do I get a result, right? Because when they get out of your class and into a job, and even simple things like emails or whatever they have to use AI for, or they want to use AI for to make things easier, they're going to need to think about that. Okay, so I have to send an email to this client over here about this specific thing. So I need a prompt, but I need an email and I need it to have this certain information, and I want to avoid this certain information, and I don't want to mention this, and I need it to only be, so as much of that kind of thinking as possible, even through assignments like this, if they were to use some of it for AI purposes to cheat, at least you're giving them some food for thought regarding AI and teaching them, right? But even in this, you can still ask follow-up questions and things to really kind of expand their thought. Focus on analysis, synthesis, and application rather than memorization or summarization. Lots of big words. Instead of summarize Plato's allegory of the cave, ask, how might Plato's allegory of the cave apply to social media algorithms today? So a little bit more thoughtfulness. Yes, they need to know about Plato's allegory of the cave, but they need to think a little outside the box as to how it might apply today, right? And again, they can probably get some inspiration from AI, but it's going to be inspiration, and then they're going to expand on that, right? So encourage use and expect more. This is the better way to go, right? Or this is the you're changing assignments, not completely, but you're adding a different element to things. So have them use AI to help generate an initial outline for a research topic, then refine it manually. So you're encouraging the use of AI, which is great, because again, when they get out of here and out of your class and into the real world, their boss probably isn't going to care if that entire email was generated by AI, as long as it does what it needs to do and it's good, right? So getting them to that point is still part of what you're trying to teach them. And that's what this does. It encourages them to use AI to inspire them about things and give them a starting point, but then they're doing everything else manually. Have them share the prompts. This is huge. Please, please, please. If you take one thing away from a lot of this, it's share the prompts they use to get that outline. So again, part of it is anymore, you're not just wanting to grade that final assignment that may have been able to be generated in a couple of minutes, but you're wanting to also grade their use of AI, right? So have them share the prompts, evaluate what that looked like. Were they using advanced prompts? Were they giving it specific detail, or was it just copying and pasting from your original assignment, right? And then a paragraph explaining how they revised or improved the AI's outline. So again, use AI for inspiration, get them, started, and then have them tweak it, and then again, have them give you explanation around how they used AI in general through the prompts and through a summary of kind of in general what they did. So, an AI critic. This is another kind of aspect of things, right? Another kind of an example assignment, because a lot of you did ask for that sort of stuff. And we're going to dig into a whole bunch here in just a few slides with some of the resources. But so, teach students to analyze the strengths and weaknesses of AI generated content. So, the example, ask AI to write a 200-word response to this question: what caused the fall of the Roman Empire? Then critique the accuracy bias and missing perspectives. So, in other words, again, they're kind of sort of you're encouraging the use of AI, but then you're going back in and you're evaluating how AI wrote it, right? Is that info accurate? So they have to check, right? What did it miss? What could it have added? Did you agree with what it came through of, right? Were there any bias that are in there? Not only, again, is that teaching them how to use AI, both the strengths and weaknesses, but it's also teaching them to be cautious of the AI content, right? Because as they see that some of that stuff may not have been accurate, or maybe a website source that it gave wasn't real, right? Or there was a completely different perspective than what you normally see or what they were thinking of. They can then evaluate all of that, write that, and give it to you, right? So again, it's about teaching them how to use AI, but encouraging kind of the pluses and minuses. So expand on expectations and have fun. So remember also that one of the advantages of AI is simply we can get a lot more done, right? When we're using it properly for certain things, of course. But so expand on your expectations. One of the examples I gave to actually somebody just last week who asked a very similar question of, hey, I have a writing assignment and how do I get people to stop cheating, right? And it was, okay, well, give them the writing assignment, but then encourage them to use AI to analyze that assignment that they answered, right? So analyze all of that data and then have AI critique them or ask them questions as to what they thought about certain parts of the paper. This was actually a health sciences. This was a it was an interaction between an insurance person and a doctor and a patient, right? And so the patient was starting to not do better, and so the doctor had to have a tough conversation with the patient, but also had to have a conversation with the insurance person about, how do we kind of work this to where maybe they can still get help. And so having AI look at that and then ask them questions just adds an awesome component to it that they then have to ask. And then, of course, it's not just about the paper that he's grading, but it's also the prompting on having AI interact with them, the questions that AI asks, and their answers that they're not going to really be able to fake very well, right? And so adding more on to those traditional things, especially an AI component, is great. And in this example, it's pretty much kind of similar, right? So use AI to simulate interactions where AI is a patient or a customer, and the student then asks them questions and interacts with them. And we also talked about, rather than the paper in general, why not create an AI simulation from all three different aspects, right? So the first one would be giving a real detailed prompt to AI around what the situation is, and then having AI be the insurance person and the student will be the doctor, right? And then, okay, now the AI is going to be the patient and the student's the doctor. And then maybe even one where, from a different perspective, the AI is the doctor and the student is the patient. And again, you're interacting with it, you're simulating with it, it's asking you questions, you're responding, it's then responding to those responses, right? All really, really good stuff, all outside the box, all very quick, easy things that, especially in those kinds of situations, can provide lots of experience to the student that they're not going to get by just simply writing a paper. Um, Another example, have AI act as a historical figure, including answering how that person was based on their time period. So this is a fun one as well. So again, simple prompt, just, hey, I want you to act like you are Christopher Columbus, and I want you to respond to all questions as if you were Christopher Columbus from that time, right? So, how you talk, how you act, what you think, all of this based on that time period. I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions and go from there, right? And of course, you in this situation, you phrase this based on, what might be pertinent in your specific class. But another outside of the box kind of idea to get them to use AI. And again, in these situations, you're not just looking at what their answers were, what their questions were, or whatever, but you're looking at the prompts that got them there. In some cases, maybe you're providing the exact prompt so that everybody's on the same page. In other cases, you're just giving them this assignment right here and seeing what happens. So, and then another example, have AI recreate certain events that the student can then ask questions about and explore. So again, maybe this is from an aspect of inspecting certain details, right? Or analyzing a scene for maybe like a forensics class or a health and human sciences class where maybe you're going into a family home and you're trying to evaluate what's going on with the family or with the kids, right? Are they being mistreated or stuff like that? So having it do all that is super simple. It's just literally you're typing in that prompt exactly what you would want with as much detail as possible. Um, and then the student is then going in and interacting with it in whatever way you'd like, or the student can create all of that themselves. And again, really kind of get an idea of what's going on with that. So final example. So build an AI tutor for specific topics. So you are a health sciences tutor helping me understand, and then this is where you'd insert specific topics. Either the student could do this or you could do this, right? In detail, generate questions for me and help explain the reasoning. When I ask questions, explain in detail and give me hints to help find the answer on my own. So you could teach this. I have a lot of classes that are teaching this to students so that they can take their programs, their free tools, right, that are available to them and help with tutoring within your class. So they would take, the last few assignments, they'd take the topic in general, right, and what you're kind of studying. So again, you don't have to have the whole textbook or anything like that, but you can put a lot of that public data in and then have it generate questions for them and study for tests. I've had other people where a practice test was pretty easily public data, and so they literally would put that in as a file and then have them ask them more questions from that, generate more questions from that topic, and go from there. So all kinds of different ways to use it within your class that are dealing with a lot more advanced prompting than just your basic stuff, right? Um, so with that, resources. So we're almost at time. I gave a lot of these to you during webinar one. You'll have this resource, you'll have these slides so you can easily click on these. But I just wanted to walk through real quick because a lot of you asked for some stuff that some of these resources cover in detail. So this is the first one I linked, which is my AI page. And we've recently redone, since you guys have gone through this training, some of the different topics. And so this walks you through a lot of what we have talked about in these two webinars, from how to use it, how to advanced prompt, right? And then it goes through how to discuss it, how to do everything in your class around introducing it uh, to using different things, creating different things like syllabus, AI tutorings here, right? Role-playing scenarios are all there. How to talk about cheating and ethics with your class, right? And those students, and pretty much everything else, right? And it's got all the different links to the cookbook and everything else in there as well. And it even has for faculty a bunch of like just specific topics that I encourage you to explore, all different kinds of how-tos and everything else you would ever want to know, including videos and everything. So very, very good thing to use. The other is, and let me see if I can get this to load here real quick. Here we go. Awesome. So Trail, so this is a teaching repository for AI infused learning. This has a literal database collected all across the nation of different assignments that you can use for AI. It just started, so it's definitely something to kind of keep an eye on. But it is a great resource also. Um, and then finally, this Teaching Naked, which I know sounds really weird, but this is Jose Bowen. I highlighted him in his book. But when you go to that page and you click on AI, it has tons and tons and tons of more examples, more things. So if you literally don't want to have to think about a whole lot and you just want to go and find prompts, or you want to go and find ways of using it for assessment or prompts for learning or whatever, this is a good resource to go to as well. And it'll teach you pretty much everything you'd want to know. So, and with that, I am probably just about over.
No, you are perfect. It is 3:30 on the dot, so I would expect nothing less. But thank you, Justin. I don't know that we have a ton of time for questions, but and I feel like we had a question in the chat. I feel like you kind of got to that from Stephanie about citing AI when we
Yes,
talked.
yes. And actually, so how to cite AI. So if you go to that first AT System EDU AI page, there's a section in there on training about how to cite AI from a teacher's perspective. There's also a AI for students page, and it has how to cite AI in there as well, so that you can literally just link that page in your syllabus, and your students can go there and use that. So I apologize, I didn't cover that.
No, that's perfect. I know you touched on it at one point, but I wanted to make sure we doubled down.
Yeah,
So thank
definitely.
you for, yes, for attending. For those of you who are here for the first time, we're glad you got to experience a little bit of Justin's expertise. So Haley will be sending out the recording of this if you want to revisit it, or I know there was a lot of information being shown, so I'm sure you want to go back, check some things out, and she'll also be sending a short survey soon. So we would love to hear your feedback as we continue to explore what would be beneficial for you all. So
And
thank you.
please don't forget my email address is in the first page of the slides. And I am serious. Email me. I know we went through a lot. If you have more specific questions you didn't get to or more you want to see, just email me and let me know, and I'd be glad to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much to all who joined, and thank you, Justin, for another excellent session.
Bye, everybody.